Gentlewoman from New York, Ms. Velázquez, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member. Ms. Marceline, I agreed with Ranking Member Waters that my friends on the other side of the aisle are intent to undermine the CFPB and the rules it enforces. They often just justify their actions by arguing that the CFPB and regulations from the Dodd-Frank Act are burdening community banks and credit unions with onerous regulation. But isn't it true that the CFPB must consider how its rule impact small banks before promulgating the rules?
Thank you, Congresswoman Velázquez. Yes, that's exactly right. The CFPB, by matter of law and practice, consults with small banks, credit unions, and rural banks to better understand how their regulations will affect these institutions. I also want to note that the CFPB authority in regards to banks, they have authority over banks with over $10 billion in assets, first of all. And lastly, regardless of the size of the institution, consumers should always be protected when they're offered financial products. It is the one agency that's actually tasked with the mission of protecting consumers when they're taking out financial products. There are lots of other agencies. If you're getting a toaster or a car or whatever else, there are agencies looking out for your safety there. And up until 2011, when the CFPB opens its doors, that's when we actually had someone looking out for consumer financial products. So, yes.
Thank you. Ms. Marceline, the purpose of this morning's hearing is to discuss ways we can revitalize banking in the 21st century. What is notably absent from the majority's memo, however, is any mention of the CFPB. Can you speak to the importance of the CFPB and maintaining its independence in order to protect consumers and revitalize banking in the 21st century?
Thank you again. So again, just pointing back to my initial statement of why the CFPB was created in the first place. And, I just want to add, when, bipartisan polling was commissioned and showed that when consumers actually heard what the CFPB does and what they're mandated to do, that 79% of voters across the political spectrum supported it. I also want to point to the Dodd-Frank Senate report that was created, when Dodd-Frank bill was being legislated. It pointed to the FHFA's predecessor, the Office of Federal Housing Enterprise Oversight, which oversaw Fannie and Freddie at the time. And it stated very clearly that one of the reasons that office wasn't as effective was because they were subjected to the annual appropriations process, which lessens their independence and made it unlike other federal financial regulators at the time. Having a steady fund of streaming, like most federal financial regulators, also helps to secure and lead to the continuation of rules that help to create market certainty, whether in our financial system or in the economy at large. So it is very hard to have an independent agency if you're going to subject it to the annual appropriations process. And this was done intentionally by Congress, as pointed to by the report.
Thank you. This Congress, Ms. Marceline, I am once again planning to reintroduce the Promoting Fair Lending to Small Businesses Act that ensures the CFPB has both oversight and examination authority over non-bank lenders pursuant to Section 1071. Can you speak to the importance of ensuring that the CFPB has both supervisory and fair lending enforcement authority over non-bank lenders?
Yes, absolutely. So, want to point to the fact, I believe it was in 2020, that non-lenders issued about 2/3 of all mortgages issued. So we're seeing, and I go into detail to this in my written testimony, we're seeing the rise of the non-bank sector surpassing, to some degree, lending by banking sector. So having adequate supervision over that sector is of utmost importance. Lastly, we need, something to track, and that's what 1071 gets to. The same way how we have HMDA data, we need that for small businesses, for small borrowers as well.
Thank you. Mr. Reuter?
Yes, Congresswoman, I am in support of like activities being regulated in a like manner.
Thank
So
you.
it would be in
I yield
support.
back.
The gentlelady's time has expired.